In the last section, I believe, right? So you have, yeah, I have covered the how to load the data from different sources like comma separated value files, and how to load multiple files into one go using folder connector. And also, we have seen how to load the Excel file into like Excel data into SQL Server, and how we can connect to the loaded SQL table via Power BI desktop. Okay. Today, we will continue with understanding the important concept called the types of storage mode or type of connectivity, different types of connectivity. There are four different types of connectivities are there. So one is the import connectivity mode. The next one is direct connectivity mode, and the composite mode. Composite is nothing but the combination of these two. And a live connection is also another type of connectivity. Okay. So now let's take a look at each and every connectivity mode. To start with the import mode, we will start with the import mode. Okay. So, okay, what is import mode? This is the default one. Import mode is the most widely used, and it is the default one when connecting to data sources. It is also referred to as cached data. Cached data. Hence, the performance is faster. Anything, if you cache it in memory, the performance will be faster. In the case of import mode, Power BI pull the data from the data source, for example, comma separated value file or any other text file or Excel file, right? It pull the data from these sources and load the data inside of the Power BI itself. Remember that this data sits inside of the Power BI desktop file itself. Supposing you have developed a report, for example, you have developed a report, and then, for example, I just select something like this, some visuals here. I just selected this one. Let's say I created some report here. Let me just load some test data here. This is an Excel file, and I just expand this one. And here, if you see here, this is the preview window. You can see year, month, expenses. Okay, fine. I just click on load. On the right side, under the fields pane, you can see this file. Okay, now we can see that the expenses data got loaded here. And now what I do is I just drag and drop the year here, and I just put this expenses also here. Here we can see the sigma. I can just before all these quantitative variable, I just go to year. Okay, but good. So here, okay, here it says sum here. We since don't summarize, I just select don't summarize. Okay, here we have only 1 year data is there. What I will do is I just drag and drop month, so that when only 1 month, only one is there. Okay, this is kind of your report. You just think that it. Okay, think that way, and you can see the publish icon here, right? So you can see the publish icon here. You can see the publish. When you click on this, this report will get published on your Power BI Cloud service. On the Power BI Cloud, this one will get published. Okay. So in that case, what will happen is the data which you have loaded here this one will become part of this file itself. When you publish this report on cloud, the report file and the data will get automatically published along with the report on cloud. Okay, remember that you don't have to publish the report file as well as the data file separately. When you click on publish, when you hit the publish icon, the report as well as the data that got stored inside the Power BI desktop will get published on the Power BI Cloud Service. Since the data is available as part of the Power BI itself, it is super fast because it is in memory, right? So if you do any in-memory querying and being columnar database, the report performance will be faster. Why the report performance will be faster in the case of import mode? Because of the in-memory querying and compression. What is in-memory? Just a simple analogy. For example, if I ask you, what is your dad's contact number or mother's contact number? It is there in your brain. You can tell instantly, this is my mom's number, this is my dad's number. If I ask you what is, what is the contact number of your, the neighbor who lives in the third floor, so then what you say, no, I don't remember him. I need to go and check it. Since you know your parents' number on top of your head, right? It is in memory. So you can respond it instantly. Similarly, here, when it comes to not only Power BI, even in the case of lot of in-memory databases and softwares that are all very popular. For example, Spark is in memory. Okay, and right, so even in the case of databases, also we can cache the memory in memory. So we can cache the data in memory. Okay, hence, if you fire any query or if you perform, or in the case of Power BI, if you create a visual, what will happen is since the data is available in memory, the visual will get populated quickly. Okay, and also right, not only it is in memory, but also right, the data will get compressed once you load the data into your Power BI desktop. Let's say you have a table with 200 GB data in it. Just let's say you have a table with okay. Let's say you have a table with 200 GB data in it. Okay, right. So then if you import this data into Power BI, you will get 200 GB file in Power BI. Is it true? This is not true. Okay, there is something called X Velocity engine. Okay, this is a piece of software that is part of the Power BI desktop. Okay, Power BI software. Okay, the X Velocity engine. This is the art of the Power BI, heart of the Power BI. Power BI leverages this engine and works on a column store in memory technology. What is so special about X Velocity engine? Why Power BI uses this piece of code, which is part of the Power BI? Because this X Velocity engine plays a vital role in terms of whatever the data that you loaded, especially the Excel file, CSV file, right? Whatever data that you loaded, not only Excel, even the SQL database related tables, when you connect it with import mode, what this one does is it converts your tabular data into columnar database, columnar data, and then it does some kind of encoding, and then it compresses the data. The compressed data will then get loaded into memory. Got it? Let's say you have a file instead of 200 GB. Let's take 1 GB file. You have a file with the size of it's a 1 GB Excel file. Okay, and when you import into Power BI, your Power BI file will ends up with only 10 MB. because of the compression done by X velocity engine behind the scene, right? So that is the reason why Power BI uses it. This X velocity engine works only with the data which you connected with import mode. It will not work with the direct connectivity mode or live connection. This one will work only with the file or table which you connected with the import connectivity mode. So the X velocity engine will get kick in the moment when you use the import connectivity mode. This one will kick in, and then it does three things. One is it will convert the table or data into columnar data. Number two, what it does the encoding. And third thing is it compresses the data, and then the compresses the data, and then the compressed data will get cached in memory. If anybody uses the term cache, that means it is in memory. Okay, it caches the data in memory. So it performs three actions, the X velocity engine, whenever you connect with the import mode. Okay, since the data at this moment, right, ignore these first two actions. I will explain it, when I cover DAX, okay, in depth, how the X velocity engine works. Right, we'll take the internals of the internal mechanics of the X velocity engine. We'll discuss it in the later, subject, later time. Okay, later time we'll do that. And the another advantage with import mode is you can connect to any data source, and then you can bring that data into Power BI. Right, so you can connect to any data source. Okay, right, since the data is in memory, the report performance is very fast. Okay, and the next thing is you can schedule up to 8 refreshes per day. In the case of the free license, the one we have downloaded, the Power BI desktop, and if you sign up with the Power BI cloud service, in the Power BI cloud service, you can refresh it on per day just 8 times in the case of free account, or with the pro license. If you go for premium license, 40 plus refreshes per day you can do it. Okay, this is one of the limitations when you go for the free account or pro license. Okay, when you go for this one, the premium license, it will be more than 40 refreshes you can do per day. Okay, and the other advantage of import mode is it offers design flexibility to modelers, and supports Q&A visual and quick insights and so on. And then it importantly, it uses you can use all DAX functions for the data which you connected with import mode. That is another salient feature of this one. Okay, and yeah, the other disadvantage is import models needs to be refreshed. Okay, this is one disadvantage. Whenever you connect with import mode, right, you need to refresh it. You need to schedule a data refresh. Okay, that this you can do it with the the Power BI cloud service. And another disadvantage is, with the free account and pro license, your Power BI model cannot be more than, or the file size, right? If each file per file, you can, it can store only up to 1 GB. Okay, but for a free account in Power BI cloud service, it gives you Power BI. Microsoft gives you 10 GB free space. Okay, you can use up to 10 GB worth of data in your cloud. Power BI cloud service, it's a free account. They give it for 60 days only. Okay, in the cloud service you can use it 10 GB with the free account. Okay, but per file, right, you can use it only 1 GB. Okay, if your file exceeds more than if your single file exceeds more than 1 GB, then it will not work. You will get error, something like you will get some error. Okay, so the file size, each file size cannot be more than 1 GB. which means your on disk files is can only go up to 1 GB in size when you go to publish, okay, that to the Power BI service. So that is one of the restrictions from the import perspective, and especially when you use the free account or pro license, okay. So you need to be mindful of this before you make any recommendations to your customer or your pre-sales. And if you are part of the pre-sales team, and if you are or if you are part of solutioning team, right, you need to be aware of these things. But when you use premium license, you can there are no limitations there, okay. So the limitations, you don't have any limitations, but most of the enterprise they use premium license only, okay. In the case of Power BI premium, it allows us to have 50 GB of model size. 50 GB of model you can load it in Power BI website. So without a premium, right, the maximum files you can have is just 1 GB only without premium, okay. This is one limitation you need to remember, that's all, okay. Next one is the direct connectivity mode. Okay, the other connection type is the direct query mode or direct connectivity. It is an alternative to your import mode. In this connection type, the data will not be stored in your Power BI model. Remember this. This is very important. Since it is direct connection to the data source. For example, you have SQL server in your company. You have SQL. So let's they have installed SQL server. In the SQL server, the database are running here. Okay, you have a database, right? You have multiple databases are running, and you have Power BI server, right? You have something called Power BI server, something like that, okay. And in this case, for example, in your Power BI desktop also, right, if you connect to SQL server in direct connectivity mode, and if you want to read the data from, let's say, sales fact table, there is a table called sales fact that is there in your SQL server database. If you connect to this database in direct connectivity mode, this table's data will not get imported locally here. For example, in the report visual, let's say you have a column chart or a stacked bar chart. So if you wanted to plot two axes, right, x-axis and y-axis columns, if you wanted to plot it there, and what you need to do is just connect to direct connectivity mode and just drag and drop the two columns for the two axes. What will happen is a query will be generated. That one will be sent to your source SQL server, and it will get fired here. And then the output of the SQL server, data will get populated into your Power BI visual. Okay, the data will not get loaded. In the case of only in import mode, the data will get loaded into your Power BI desktop. Whereas in the case of direct query mode, you cannot load it, okay. Even in the case of SQL server, you can connect with import mode. When you connect with import mode, and if you wanted to load the entire data of the sales fact table into your Power BI desktop, that is possible even in the case of database, okay. But when you connect it with direct connect mode, you cannot it will not download the data, rather it will simply download the metadata, okay. So the point here is data will not be stored in Power BI model. Instead, the data will live in the source system itself. The Power BI will only store metadata of tables. Like I said, let's say if you wanted to import these, let's say if you want to connect in direct connectivity mode, and if you wanted to read, or if you want to read the data from sales fact table, what will happen is in the case of direct connectivity mode, this sales fact tables metadata only will get imported into your Power BI desktop. What do you mean by metadata? This table name and columns that are part of this table name will get imported, and the relationship, how this table has a relationship with other tables. For example, you have a dim customer dimension table is there, okay. Customer dimension table is there, and sales fact table. Both the table, when you try to connect with the direct connection mode, these two tables data will not get imported locally here. These two tables metadata only will get imported. So you know what is metadata now, right? So in this case, not only the table name and column name will get imported, the metadata, along with the relationship. Okay, the customer table and sales fact table, there is a column called, let's say, customer key, and you have something called cust key, right? In this table, you have something called customer key. Here you have customer key. So for these two tables, the common column is customer key. Hence, the relationship will get created between these two tables using the customer key. Since in the case of direct connected mode, it not only imports the table name and column name and also the relationship, right? The customer key, and then put the link also. It will get imported. So to recap, direct query mode is a direct connection to the source system. The data will not be stored in your Power BI model. Instead, the metadata only get stored in your model. The Power BI will query the data from your data source every time. Your Power BI will query. It will query the data from your data source every time, because the data lives here only. Only the metadata got, only the structure of the table gets imported here. Okay, and yeah. And what is the advantages of direct connectivity mode? Storage. Since you are not, loading the entire table data into your Power BI desktop, right, it requires less storage, right? You don't have to allot more space, because that you're not importing the entire data. For example, this sales fact table has 25 million records in it. 25 million records in it. To import the data locally, right? If you use import connectivity mode, the 25 million data should get loaded into your Power BI desktop. It takes a lot of time. The table volume is very high. Then don't go for import, because it requires more storage space in your Power BI. Okay, and then it takes longer time to load the data here. Rather, what you do is use the direct connectivity mode. You use the data wherever it is. I simply create my visuals. My visuals will query the SQL server and get the data, get the output from the SQL server into my, the output will get populated in my visuals. Got it? So hence the direct connect mode, the advantage is it doesn't require any storage, or less storage, just metadata only. But the disadvantages, right? You can perform only the limited data transformations. So you all are now familiar with Power Query Editor. In the case of Power Query Editor, you cannot perform extensive data transformation when you connect it with the direct query mode. You can still do the data transformation. Okay, for example, you want to convert the first name, last name of the customer, in the uppercase or lowercase, you can do it. But if you want to merge the columns, two columns, let's say you want to merge two columns into a single column, it will not work. Okay, there is a limitation. Okay, some extent you can do the data transformation. There are certain transformation you cannot do that. So you can do only limited transformation, and other disadvantages, limitations to use DAX queries. What is DAX? DAX stands for data analytics expression. Using DAX, right? DAX, or, in the case of DAX, we have a lot of built-in functions are available. With built-in functions, you can do advanced analytics. But when you connect it with the direct connection, with direct query mode, you cannot use all the DAX functions. Okay, there are some DAX functions, it will not work with the direct query mode. Okay, and then a limited Power Query transformation. The Power Query editor, you cannot do extensive data transformation, and the data query in direct query is possible for only few sources, data sources. For example, we have a database called MySQL or DBMS. You cannot use direct connectivity mode for MySQL. Okay, but you can use it with the SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. You can connect it with the direct connection mode, and And even for Oracle, you can use the direct connection mode. But the other advantage of this noise model doesn't require scheduled data refresh. In the case of import, you need to keep your, in order to keep your report up to date, you need to keep refresh your data. For example, in the case of Power BI desktop, once I load the data, look here, in this case, expenses table, I loaded it here using import connectivity mode. Now this data is loaded into Power BI desktop itself. So let's say, this table, okay, I just go to the data view. You can see that 2020, 21, 22, these years, okay, we have years, okay, there is this another thing, okay. We have 20, 21, 23 years data is there in it. Okay, and for example, you have 2019, 20, 21 is there. 22, year 22 data is not there. But you have loaded this data file into Power BI desktop by, until 2021. Let us assume that way. 2022 data is not available in this report. Okay, only when you load a 2022, year 22 data in it, so they can perform 4-year, with the 4-year data, they can perform year-on-year analysis. What is the sales what is the total sales in 2020? What is the total sales in 2021, 2022? Okay, but 2022 data is not there. Hence, they can do the revenue comparison between year 2020 and 2021 only. Okay, now if I let's say in my Excel file, now we have loaded with the year 2022 data also. When you load in the Excel file 2022, this will not, Power BI will not know, right? Whether you have loaded the data into you have inserted any new records into your Power BI, sorry, in the Excel file, it will not be knowing it, right? How will it be knowing it? So what you need to do is, in order for the Power BI to understand that you have included some additional data in your existing Excel file, what you need to do is you need to click on refresh. I assume that you have 200 reports are there, 200 reports, right? In each 200, each reports of this one, right, has they are using different Excel files. Do you think it is practically possible to open 200 report files and manually click refresh in order to keep your report up to date? It is not a viable solution. Rather, what we do is we can schedule data refresh in Power BI Cloud Service. The point here is when you use import connectivity mode, that since the data get loaded into Power BI desktop, right? Let's say as on 2021, from 2020 to 2021, that data got loaded into my Power BI desktop. But it doesn't have 2022 data in it. Recently, we have inserted year 2022 data into my Excel file. And in order to consider the recently included year 2020 data into the same Excel file, you need to click on the refresh. But practically, it is not possible to click refresh for, let's say, if you have 200 reports file like this. Instead, we schedule it on cloud. Once you schedule it, the data will get refreshed into your 200 reports. Okay, and let's say each report hypothetically you are using different Excel file. Okay, but based on the time that you mentioned as part of the scheduling, right, scheduler, it'll as per the timing, right, let's say 10 a.m. every day, it should refresh the data in each report so that each report will be up to date. It will show the up to date data. The case of import, yes, you need to tell the Power BI to load the newly inserted data from your Excel into Power BI desktop by setting up a schedule. Okay, you need to create a schedule. Okay, you need to create or set up a schedule on the Power BI Cloud Service. But when it comes to direct connectivity mode, since the data since the Power BI desktop, let's say you have created a visual here, right? Here in this case, it will connect to, for example, I'm going to create another report. Or let's take this example. Okay, in this case, since I connected directly with my SQL Server table, right, it doesn't require data refresh because it is connected there. When I close and open it, it will go and read it from the SQL Server, and then it will show the up to date data in it. Okay. So direct query doesn't require data refresh. Import requires data refresh. And in the case of direct query, it will import only the metadata into your Power BI desktop. Whereas in the case of import, it load the entire data into your Power BI desktop. But Power Direct Query mode supports only these databases: Amazon Redshift, Azure HT Insight, Snowflake, SAP, and Teradata. Only these databases it supports. With the direct connectivity mode. Now the question is, okay, when can I go for, okay, if you want to take a look at the other source system or the RDBMS which are supported by, or the applications that are supported by Microsoft in the direct connect mode, we can go to this web URL and you can take a look at it. Okay. Now the next question is, right, when can I go for direct query? When can I go for import? Right. So a single compressed data set in Power BI desktop cannot exceed 1 GB. So that is the limitation. If you would like to import a single data set which is bigger than a gigabyte, you can use direct query. That's a good option. And let's say, there's another situation. Let's say you want to connect to a data set that's frequently changing. And you want to make sure that you are always seeing the latest and greatest data, because direct query is live connection to the source, right? These are the two scenarios. My data is keep updating it, keep changing it. In that case, you can go for direct query. Not only the volume and the frequency of changes in your source system table, or so let's say the changes are so frequent. In that kind of situation, also you can go for direct query, because otherwise, what will happen is you'll end up setting up the refresh more frequently. Okay, and in the case of direct query, right, as soon as the source data is updated, it will be reflected in Power BI. Okay. The last use case here is maybe your organization has a policy in place. Okay. Uh, in that case, right, they only want you to connect directly to the data source and don't import the data into Power BI. There is some policies, right? Company to company, they use different policies. Okay, because security and other aspect, they don't want to import the data locally. So in that kind of situation, you can go for direct query mode. They'll ask you in the interview, when can. Another thing is like, yeah, the volume. That's what I told you, right? So the to overcome the limitation, 1 gig limitation, GB limitation, you can directly connect it there. And the next one is the composite mode. The composite mode is an hybrid of both the import as well as the direct connection mode. Okay. If you look here in the composite model, you have the mix of Excel file, CSV file, the ERP source system tables, Oracle application, CRM application, Salesforce, LOB, DW, and web from the website. Let's say you need to pull the data, and then social media also you want to pull the data to do some kind of sentiment analysis, and you have some kind of data flow. You can create it in Power Query Editor. So once you, it is something like the Power Query Editor on cloud. Okay, you can extract the data, or you can combine the data from all these different doses. So these tables confer import and direct query or dual storage support for multiple sources. Okay, so in the case of composite model, it is nothing but the combination of all the things. Okay, import and direct. I just show you in Power BI desktop. I just connect with my SQL server here. I don't remember my desktop name. Not available. Why? Okay, there it will desktop. This is my server name. You don't have to open the SQL Server Management Studio because that takes another, 10 to 15 minutes. 8K BBDN3. Okay, BBDN3. And followed by this, you need to type the forward backslash, and then you need to specify SQL Express, and the next one is the database. Okay. Okay, I connect to my sales database. I have already created a sales database using the import connectivity mode. It will import the table into my Power BI desktop. Okay, from the SQL source database. Okay, one second. Let me just, for example, I just use the DIM customer and DIM location. Okay, and these two table, I will load it into my Power BI desktop with import connectivity. In this case, these two tables data will get loaded into my Power BI desktop. Fine. If I go to my data model view and forget about expenses, and you can see the, if you drag towards the right side, the scroll bar, you can see the customer and location table. Okay, these two table I imported from my Power BI from my SQL server. Next, what I do is I just connect to SQL server, this time with the direct connectivity mode. I use, okay, I should have, okay, desktop hyphen 8K BBDN3, I think. And then this time, see, look here, this time I'm going to select direct query. So here it is optional. You don't have to specify the database name, but it is good if you specify the database. Okay. If you don't specify it, it will go and open all the databases, and then it will show you, it will slow down. Okay. That's all. So now I connect to the SQL server sales database using direct query mode. When I hit OK, okay, this is the current credentials. I just click on connect. Okay, if you get something like that, you can ignore this. Again, you can go ahead and click on OK. 8K BBDN3, right? So let me just check one more time. 8K BBDN3. So that is the 8K BBDN3 and desktop hyphen. Yeah. And SQL Express. Okay. So, okay, some problem here. It should connect with that. I'm not sure. Okay, it is going to cloud. Okay, there is some problem here. And use credential, username and password. I don't have any username and password. Okay, let me go back here and okay, here I did not specify the SQL Express, right? That is a problem. Okay, so now I connect with direct query mode. Yeah. So now what I do is I just select sales fact table. I know very well, this table has huge volume of data. Let's say this, let's assume that this table has 50 million records in it. I don't want to import this table into my Power BI desktop because it'll take longer time. Instead, I just connected with the direct connectivity mode. So even the direct query mode, it'll bring up the data for our preview. Okay, it randomly brings up some data, not the entire table data. So this for you to make sure that are you really looking for this data. Okay, and I will hit load here now. Potential security risk. You just click on OK. Look here. Now, if I go back to my model view, I can see that these two tables already imported it. And the next one is sales fact table. This is the one I connected with the direct query mode. And you can see the blue icon on top of this one. So this one indicates us we have connected to this table using direct connectivity mode. Okay, now let us go to the data view and click on the sales fact table. Look here, this table uses direct query and cannot be shown. Since we have used the direct connectivity mode, this table data did not loaded into my Power BI desktop. Since I have used the import connectivity mode, I can see the data from this tables, SQL Server table. This table now got loaded as part of my Power BI desktop, whereas sales fact table data was not loaded. Instead, the metadata only got loaded here, the structure of the table. So what we conclude is in the case of composite mode, you can use direct query mode, you can use import mode, and also you can you can load other types of data files. For example, you have JSON file, you want to load the JSON file, you can load it along with this thing. You see SQL Server database table, and this is an Excel file, and you can likewise you can use different. You can load any type of file along with this one. But we have something else called live connection mode. Live mode. Even the live mode is also similar to your direct query mode. So in this case also, it is a direct connection to the source. The data will not be stored in Power BI model like direct connectivity mode, but the live with the live connection, right? You can access only the three data sources. The one is SQL Server Analysis Services, and other one is SSAS multi-dimensional, and the other one is Power BI service, the cloud-based service. Now, what is the advantage and disadvantage of using live mode? Advantages here, no size limitations. You can directly connect to your SSAS. Can you view data in Power BI using direct query? Yeah, yeah. In the case of direct query, you can view the data, right? So you want to see the in the okay, okay. So we cannot see the data here. Can I see the data in Power Query? That's a good question. Yes, you click on the transform data, Abhinaya. So here you can see it here. You can see it here. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay. As I told you, right, you can do limited data transformation here. Okay. And but you cannot merge the columns. For example, if I say, for example, if I want to merge some columns, let's say customer ID and location, the column, both the columns, if you want to merge it, look here, you have something called change type, transform, no, not merge columns. If you merge it, choose how to merge. Okay, so here you have something called comma or colon or space between the columns. Okay, now it is possible. I think, yeah, in the case of latest version, now, they have lifted that limitation. Okay, mesh, but still there are some limitations. Okay, and but now you can view the data here, though you cannot view the sales fact table in the data view. In the Power Query editor, you can view the data because you can, if you can still do some data transformation there. Okay. Okay, where the advantages are like, no size limitations here. There are no size. Okay, where you can, since you are directly connecting to the source, right? You don't have to worry about the size and all size limitations, all the things, and you can perform all kind of DAX transformations. Unlike direct connected mode, here there are no limitations. You can use majority of the DAX functions, and the downside of it is, right, so no Power Query editor. You cannot view the data in Power Query editor. First of all, the Power Query editor icon itself will not be visible here. For example, if you go to the Power BI desktop, and when you see, this one will get disabled in the case of live connection mode. And also you cannot work with the different or multiple data sources. So in this case, you can use Excel, JSON, SQL Server table, Oracle table. You can use it. But when it comes to live connection, you cannot combine data from multiple sources. You have to use only one connection, live connection. That's all. Whatever the tables that you use in the live connection, right? Only those tables you can use it. You cannot mix Excel, JSON, SQL Server in the case of live connection mode. It is kind of a standalone mode. Okay. Okay. So now you understood. Okay. What is the disadvantage of live mode? That's what, you cannot do any data transformation. You cannot combine data from different sources in the case of live mode. Now you understood the difference between direct connectivity mode and live mode. And next question is, then which one is faster, live mode or direct connectivity mode? The direct compared to direct query mode, live mode is faster. Why it is faster? Even in the case of live mode, there is a Power BI established a direct connection to the source. Even in the case of direct query mode, it establishes a direct connection to the source. Both the cases, data will not be stored locally. Only the metadata will get imported. Then why live mode is faster? See, in the case of SSAS and tabular and multidimensional, what they do is, right, they create something called cube. Already that cube data will get cached in memory. Okay. In the case of SQL Server, not in the case of direct connectivity mode, right? So even though, let's say, you have a direct connectivity mode with SQL Server table, not necessarily all the table, got cached in the memory. Okay. So in that case, right, the compared to direct and live mode is much faster than your direct connectivity mode. Now, but all three mode put together, which one is faster? Import, direct, or live mode? Import is faster than other type of connectivity mode. Why? Because of the X velocity engine, right? What it does is it compress your data and load it in memory. But on a case-to-case basis, you need to take a call which type of mode that you need to use it. For example, in the case of SQL Server, see, most of the cases, right, you'll be working with the source system like RDBMS. Not only SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server, you'll be working with Oracle ERP tables, okay, and the SAP HANA, right? You'll be using in the case of real time, you'll be using different types of sources. Okay, so in that case, right, you need to decide, which type of connectivity mode is really required. The simple rule of thumb is, if the volume of the table is less, then you can go ahead with import mode. Whereas a SQL Server or Oracle Server or SAP, simply import the data into your Power BI desktop with the volume of the data is less, so that you can leverage the X velocity engine's capability or the feature of X velocity. Okay. In the case of the volume of data is very high, then better you can go with direct query mode. In the case of SSAS and Power BI Cloud Service, you can go for live mode because the volume of the data is very high, and that data is available on Power BI service. Already we published the data there, right? So better you can connect with the live mode, the performance, or in the case of SSAS, right? You can connect with them because already the data got cached in memory, the cubes and everything, right? They created and cached the cube in memory. Since everything is available in memory in the source system itself, if you connect it directly there, the source system memory itself data is available, hence the performance will be much faster compared to your direct connectivity mode. That's why I said, right, you need to, but not all the customers, they are using SSES and tabular and multidimensional, right? But most of the customer, they use RDBMS, right? Maybe it's a Oracle or SQL Server or Teradata. Most of them are using the databases, right? Different types of RDBMS thing, flavors. So in that kind of situation, you can go for direct connectivity mode when it comes to huge volume of data. Fine. Okay, we have seen how to connect to a file with a file, or let's say, connect to a file or table using import mode and direct connectivity mode. Right now, we will take a look at how we can establish a live connection. Okay. So I don't have SSAS installed in my system. It got crashed earlier. I installed in my system. Now somehow it got crashed. So probably later point in time, if I install it, I'll show you. But for the time being, what we will do is we will use Power BI service. Okay. With that, I will demonstrate you how to establish live connection. Okay. So for that, we have something called Power BI data sets. Okay. We have something called Power BI data sets. The Power BI dataset files are Power BI desktop files that have a specific structures. Okay, so these files, right? So these files store the connection settings, meaning the path or database location, which makes our life simple to share with the other report developers within our company. The second advantage of the Power BI dataset file is because these files are easier to share, they are really useful for new report designers. They don't have to be familiar with, hey, what is the, like I connected with SQL, so right, I was struggling. What is the server name? I made a mistake, right? So you don't have to have that headache to know the SQL server name, database name, all these things. Everything is already, someone, they already, specified all the connection details. Already they created a report and then they published on Power BI Cloud Service. All you need to do is just download that file, okay, or you can connect to that cloud service file, and that's it. All the tables which you have loaded or in both the direct query mode or import mode in that report, right? When you connect with the live connection mode with the Power BI Cloud Service, all the tables that are part of the report will be available in your Power BI desktop. But in the case of live connection, you cannot create the table relationship or you cannot do any data transformation using Power Query Editor. Okay. These are the limitations. But the advantage here is, I'm the tech lead. I'm the technical lead of your team, project team. So what I did in this project, what all the tables are there, what connections, are required for the tables and the Excel files or JSON files, everything I'll take care of it. And then what I do is I will create a connection. I use get data and I will load all the files and the tables in both the direct or import mode. Let's say in a specific project, you have one fact table or two fact table and 16 dimension tables are there. But the tables are available in different thing. So it is my headache to know the server name, database name, everything. Okay. I created a report and published on cloud. Now I tell all my team member, 10, let's say in my team, 10 people are there. I'll tell them, hey, this is the report file. the PBIDS file, it has all the tables, which you needed. You can simply establish a live connection. And then what you do is, you don't have to do data model design because you guys do not know the data model. Everything I did it. Simply you need to, connect, use the live connection mode and connect it with that. And then that's it. You're all set. The metadata of the tables will get loaded into your Power BI desktop. The next step is you can go ahead and create whatever the report that you want to churn it out of these tables. See, in this case, you don't have to worry about where the server. You don't have to click on get data to load 16 files or 16 tables. You don't have that. It's all pre-wired. Okay, fine. So now we will take a look at how we can do the live connection. Okay, I just close this one. I'm not going to do any transformation here. And the next thing is here, I just simply discard the changes. And now I just save it with some. Then we'll close it and we will open a fresh Power BI desktop, because you cannot mix up live connection mode with any other type of connection mode. And now I just go ahead with establishing live connection. I just clicked on the get data. Here I can see Power BI data sets. This is called PBIDS. Okay, I just click on it. It will ask for username and password for your Power BI cloud service. Since I have already specified the username and password, it connects to my cloud automatically. Okay, look here, I'm going to select this file. Okay, this demo retail report, and I hit the connect button. From the cloud, that report file will get loaded. Let's say you are my leader, you already uploaded that, you published that report on cloud. Now you are telling us, hey, you guys go and pick up that file. That file has all the tables that you needed. Look here, now that report, demo retail report file, has two tables in it, calendar CSW04. And first of all, here I don't see the data view here, right? I don't see the data view here. That icon is missing. I cannot go and see the data here. And the next thing is, when I click on transform data, this one got disabled, which means it is pretty much clear that we cannot do any data transformation in the case of live connection mode. And you can go, only thing is you can go and check what are the tables that are available in the case of live connection mode. Look here, even in the case of direct connection mode and live connection mode, the tables, on the top of the table, you can see the blue color line. Okay, and if you hover the cursor here, right, so it can show you still SQL Server Analysis Service Database and Power BI, api.powerbi.com, right, MyOrg, Dev Sandbox. This is the folder, okay, the Dev Sandbox, whatever is here. This is what the workspace or the folder I created on cloud. That is where that report got published. The report name is the demo retail report. The source type still it shows as SSAS, okay. It's something weird. Okay, fine. So the next one, that's all over the table. See, as a developer, I don't have to worry about from where this table needs to be imported or where this file needs to be imported. What is the folder name, server name? What is this table? In which server this table is here? Can I get the server name and the database name? You don't have to have all those headaches. Someone already did it everything. So they shared this report with you in the live connection mode. What you do is, your job is just go here and go and create whatever the reports that you needed from this available data. So what is the advantage? The advantage in the case of live connection mode, I repeat one more time. So you have some better control here, right? So you have a better control. Look here, if I keep the cursor on top of this line, This line tells us there exists a relationship between these two tables. When I right click on it, it's not working. I cannot delete the relationship here. I cannot modify the relationship. I cannot delete the relationship. I cannot create the new relationship between the tables. Already, some subject matter expert, they did everything, data model design, connecting to various source, everything they did it for me. It's a plain vanilla. In my case, just connect with the live connection mode. Simply leverage all these available tables by creating tables, reports and all. Okay, visual and all. Okay, you can do it. That's all. So now you understood what is live connection mode with the with Power BI service I demonstrated how we can do it. So usually what they do is in the real time scenario they import all the tables, they create all the relationship like one to many, many to many, all the things they do it, and then they share it with US customers. Say you are working in an American project, you share it with them and they review your data model. If everything is fine, in case of any correction required, they'll tell, hey, make changes to this one, change this one. Instead of using this key, you can use this key, or in some cases you need to use composite key. With the composite key you can create the relationship. They give the feedback. Based on the feedback you can make changes to the model which you already developed it, and then that is the final one. That's it. Once you publish it, you can give it to your junior developers. See, guys, all the tables that are required to develop the reports, everything is available in this one. You need to go ahead and establish the connection. This is the file name. That's all. They're all set. They don't have to have the doc of which table, which column to which column I need to create a relationship. In the case of many to many, how do I do that? They don't have to. And again, which database name? They don't have to have. Everything is pre-wired. Everything is already designed. Okay, so it's something like a ready mix, right? They give you everything readily. You need to, you don't have to mix all the recipes, right? In the case of home, right? If you want to do some cooking, ready mix. This is kind of a ready mix. Simply plug in here, and you will be up and running. That's all by creating the reports and all. Okay, you understood what is import mode and what is direct connectivity mode and what is live connection mode, and how we can create, how we can connect, in direct and import and live connection mode. And also we have seen the use cases when you can go for which type of connectivity mode. And also we discussed about the advantage disadvantage of each type of connection mode. And that's all right. So, okay, you have any questions so far, guys?